Here's some business advice that's blindingly obvious once you know it. When a potential customer or client asks you for the price at the beginning of a sales conversation, that's bad news. When they ask you at the end of a conversation, that's really, really good news. Now, I've seen a lot of videos where people talk about how to handle that question at the beginning of a conversation. What's the price? What's the budget? What's the investment? What's the damage? But I've seen very few people talk about how to handle at the end of a sales conversation, which I believe is more important because that is when you are most likely to drop the ball. So we have a framework called our 3POs framework, our 3-part offers framework. And that is because when you get to the end of the sales conversation, it is so much more helpful, so much more effective if you have 3 options. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Because if you have 1 option, you're really giving the prospect 2, which is either, do I want it or do I not want it? It's a yes or no dynamic. Give them 2 options and it's an either or conversation. Do they want 1 or do they want 2? Give them 3 and you can harness the power of anchor pricing. Now, for these 3-part offers, we have 3 offers: the premium, the patsy, and the preferred. The preferred is the option that we want them to take. It's a high no-brainer, which means that it's at a price point where they can make a decision then and there. So that's the preferred, the high no-brainer. Then we have the premium. The premium is about 3-4 times the price of the preferred, and the patsy is a little bit less than the preferred. So for example, I might sit down with someone and they say, what's the price? I go, well, we've got 3 options. Based on everything that we've talked about, there are 3 options that I recommend for you. Number 1, and I go into the premium. I run through maybe 3 big outcomes. Because remember, we're selling outcomes. If we're putting together a proposal, we're not selling things, we're selling outcomes. I introduce 3 big outcomes, and then I say that's $9,600. Their brain goes, okay, that sounds really good, but I don't have $9,600. Then I introduce my second option, the patsy. Now the patsy will be about a quarter of the price, so $2,400. It's only got 1 outcome, not 3 outcomes, 1 outcome. I introduce that, the 1 outcome, that's $2,400. They're thinking, oh, that sounds much more attractive in comparison. That sounds like great value. I think I want that. I think I want that. Then you introduce the third one, which is the preferred option, 2 outcomes, $3,000. At that point, they're thinking that is incredibly price attractive in comparison to the first option, and it's outstanding in value in comparison to the second option. You see what I'm doing here? That's called anchor pricing and reverse anchor pricing. So you say, here are my 3 recommendations. The one in the middle is the one where I recommend for you, but which one do you prefer? They say, I think the one in the middle is the best one for me, at which point you can say, and is the dollar price okay for you? Is that within your reality? And if they say, yeah, that's within my reality, that's when you move on to payment and you go about closing the sale. But here's the really cool thing about this framework. About 5 in 100 people, 5%, will turn around and say, that sounds fantastic, I want the premium. And then when somebody asks you for the premium, suddenly the game has changed. Every benchmark gets lifted, and then over time, that's how you progressively get paid more and more.